everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 3 of Frieren. And I'm excited. Last 2 episodes have been great. Last episode, we met the hero of the South, who had an encounter with some of the 7 sages, and there's been a little mystery built around that with Frieren and who they are. I'm excited. I haven't gotten a chance to check the comments for episodes 1 and 2 yet, because my mod was super busy this weekend, and I'm having someone else check it, but they also needed some extra time. But I couldn't wait. I needed to go ahead and watch the episodes, so I'm sure whatever comments y'all had for episodes 1 and 2, if there's any relevant, I'll bring them up next week. But before we start, since we have some new members over on the philanthropy tier that I keep a list of, I want to give a really quick shout out over to my Patreon. First of all, thank you, Patreon. You all are amazing. You help sponsor my channel. I don't make money off of YouTube, so this is the best way if you want to support my channel to come and support me. And it doesn't cost very much, and it's a lot of fun. We have a Discord where we talk about the shows. We share fan art. I get to see fan art since I can't look it up myself. And it's just overall a really cool vibe. And then you all get to comment and see everything a week earlier than everyone else. So fun times. But if you want to get a chance to check out my Patreon, please do so. If you can't afford to support me on Patreon, that's okay. Comment down below, like this video, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed. What are you doing? It's not hard. So, but with that being said, I want to give a shout out to the philanthropy tier. They throw me some extra dollars each month, and they make a huge difference in helping me to keep up with subscriptions, get new stuff for the channel, get equipment, stuff like that. Like, I'm going to be getting a new camera soon, and I'm terrified of y'all to see me in 4K, so that's going to be fun. But anyway, so I want to give a shout out to Alex Cornejo, Alexander Q, Be Happy, Dana, Damage32445, as well as Daniel Devorin, Destiny Marie, Diana Williams, Ichu, Eric, Fisho, Ghostly Turnip, James, Elfreya, Ludo Genesis, as well as Lyndon Murphy, Rast Rose Jennison, Sunspots, Translucent Men, Shimoyama, Zero Anti-Zero, Nicholas, Sean, and Jason N. Thank you all so much for all of your support. I greatly appreciate it. All of my love. So yeah, I'm super excited to dive into this episode. I don't know anything else other than it's been wonderful, and the OP and ED are amazing. So there was a picture over on Discord shared of just a stack like this thick of just individual drawings for the ED. Pardon my language, but fuck AI. I'm just like, generative AI. Do I use AI in my... I make thumbnails for my videos. I don't make AI thumbnails because they look creepy and weird, and me an AI version sounds disgusting and I don't like it. But do I use AI as a tool to like take the background out of the image of myself to put in the thumbnail? Well, yes, that's a tool. That saves me in Photoshop all those hours of trying to meticulously carve out. That's fine. But creating things with AI, like that are supposed to be art, no, let's let humans do that, please. Let's keep the soul in our artwork, shall we? But anyway, I'm super excited to dive into episode 3. Waiting till Friday for these episodes to come out has been really hard, and we're only 3 episodes in. Also, real quick before I note, I was told over on Discord that February 20th, there's not a new episode. So on the 25th over on Patreon, on the 25th of February on Patreon, we'll have something else instead, like an extra, since that week will be off for Frieren. And then the first week of March on YouTube, we will have something instead of the Frieren episode 5, and then it'll pick up the following week. So just wanted to make you all aware, as I throw this to my dog, that I am aware that the 20th there's not a new episode. So I have been told that, that's fine. But anyway, so we're going to start looking here at Frieren episode 3. I'm so excited. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. This dang series. I wanted to see the date between Stark and Fern so bad. They're going to make us wait till next week. How dare they? Well, thank goodness that they're letting us see episode 4 next week, and they're taking off, was it episode 5 is the one that they're skipping on, or episode 6? Yeah, we have to wait on episode 6. I was like, if they took the week off after this episode, that would have been cruel. That would have been like cruel and unusual punishment, but this episode got me. This episode really got to me. I like episodes like this quite a lot. I want to get this whole thing started with the screenshots after we skip out on the introduction here at Was. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. I like episodes like this, where we spend the majority of it just on this standalone. Well, I could honestly meander with Stark and Fern and Frieren all day long. I can meander with them, and I love all the callbacks. I could meander through them as they're retracing their steps from, almost 80 years ago with Frieren and her party, and just retracing all these steps and re-experiencing things. I could do that all day long. If they were just wandering around in the woods, recapping things, and Stark and Fern getting closer, I could do that. And I feel like that's what we're going to be doing most of this season. So I'm totally fine with that. I love it. But I also like the idea that not every episode has to have like a dire... I mean, I guess it did have a villain of the week with the Hydra lizard, but I like that it's not like a dire emergency every 5 seconds, right? I think that's interesting. But yeah. So they've gotten to this unusually warm region in the northern lands that they found. And they're like, finally, we can enjoy some hot springs. Like, Fern was all about them hot springs. Fern was like, yes. Fern is such a classic tsundere, but she occasionally, like, shows her, like the side of her that gets really excited. Like, this is the most excited we've seen Fern. It's her being like, yes, that's the most excited we've seen her. Our girl, she's usually a block of stone. And Stark is just like, he is just like, every 5 seconds a chicken with its head cut off when it's around women. And Fern is just like a piece of marble. And Frieren's like, you just gotta understand girls, Stark. So they make it to this next village, but as they get closer, Frieren's like, oh wait, yeah, there may have been a village here 80 years ago, but I think it's interesting that he says the village was abandoned. When we had this screenshot with the swing, I thought we were going to get a flashback in that moment to Himmel and them showing up at the village. Did not happen, but I thought for a second that we would. That swing is kind of creepy, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, he says that the village was abandoned 30 years ago. That seems interesting, right? That feels interesting. He said, what did he say? The hot springs, the village was abandoned over 30 years ago. Okay. At first, when it said 30, I was like, that eerily lines up with Himmel dying. Like, did the village get ransacked and ran out the moment that Himmel, the hero, had passed and the demons were made known of that information because they'd been so scared of him? I don't know. But he says over 30 years ago, so that makes me think that, like, it wasn't connected to Himmel's death, but I don't think we can entirely rule that out. But yeah, he says it brings back memories. So this guy, yeah, he probably was a kid around the time Frieren and them first came about. So I think it's interesting that he just, like, him and his family just stayed here and had kids and were like, well, we're a week away from the other village, so it's fine. If we need to go get stuff, we'll just go get it. Like, I guess they might be self-sufficient, you know? Interesting. I wish I could know more about this family. I thought we were going to learn a little bit more about them because they seem kind of fascinating, this, like, self-sustaining little family or village or something right here. I don't know. Interesting. But the adventurers stopped coming. I know that feeling all too soon because I grew up in a very rural area that had a lot of businesses dry up for reasons over across the decades. And yeah, if there's not stuff for people to invest in or do, they will leave. It's a shame. And Frieren's like, well, I like that Frieren's like, okay, do I tell them about the hidden hot spring or do we just go to the next town and bypass it? She's like, She's like, human villages always vanish the moment you let your guard down. I mean, she clearly, to Frieren, this is a mark on the passage of time and how her being away. It almost makes you think that Frieren wants to, like, watch over some of the villages to make sure they don't disappear, but she's just making note of how easy it is. She's like, we'll have to wait until the next town to enjoy the hot springs. I also want to point out, Stark is not doing anything wrong. Stark is checking off all the boxes that Fern should be looking at in terms of a partner. Stark is strong. He's kind. He is smart. He is very, like, sweet. He's funny. He also is amazing with children. He was in the last episode. He is in this episode. And he is also very considerate of her. He's just kind of a teenage goofball because all teenage boys like that can be goofballs. All teenage girls can be too, Fern included. So they're just teenagers, but he's checking off all the boxes of moral character that would be very beneficial in a partner. So he's doing all the right things. I love Stark to pieces. He's like, well, how far is the next town? The moment she kind of looked down and was like, how far is it? I'm like, it's going to be like a week. Yeah, a week's journey. And Fern's just like, so we got to wait a whole week. Like, Fern's just so sad. And you could tell that Stark, he's observant. He immediately notices that she's really upset about this. And he's like, well, are there no other hot springs around here? And Frieren knows. She knew, but she wasn't going to say anything. And that's when the old man's like, well, actually, I like that old man looks at her like, you know there's one around here. You know it exists. You're just not saying anything. But I heard from my grandfather there is one. She's like, old man. Again, another old man to join Frieren's harem right here. She's like, there's a hidden hot spring right back over the mountain. It was over 30 years ago, though. And I like the Frieren's like, son of a bitch. So she's like, oh, it's the hidden hot spring of the Atwest Mountain. And Stark's like, you didn't immediately bring that up. And she's like, it's a pain to get there. At first, I was wondering why the family wasn't taking advantage of the hidden hot spring. But as far away as it is, and the fact that it's guarded by a three-legged Hydra demon, makes sense. Makes sense why you wouldn't be able to capitalize on that. So Stark's like, let's go. He's like, I've heard about this before. And he's like, yes. I like that Stark remembered Ison telling him about this spring when he was a kid. I like that he kept that thought was in his memory all that time, and what Ison told him about those memories and how wonderful they were that they made them, that stuck around for Stark. And he's like, I want to go see what it's all about this. But he knew from the beginning it was a foot bath, and maybe that was part of it, because once they got there, I was like, oh, it's just a little tiny foot bath of a spring. But then when Stark's like, well, that means we all get to enjoy it, I'm like, you, sir. He wanted to share this moment with Fern and see her enjoy it, and he couldn't have done that with a regular hot spring. That's smooth. That's pretty damn smooth. I love that. I love that for him. So yeah, Frieren's like, I really don't want to go. But she's like, okay, sure. So like, later, mister, let's play again. So sweet. So yeah, she leads them on this quest. They go up this hike. Again, everything is so wonderfully animated. I loved it. I kept thinking that when she fell like that Stark was going to have to catch her, which I'm assuming that she did. But then we immediately cut to this like demon pig, like getting trounced by Stark, then by the fire, having their soup. At the end of this season, can somebody please make a compilation of all the times that Frieren is asleep? Because her, like, morning sleep things are hilarious. That woman, oh my God. It cracks me. It will never fail to crack me up. Her in her sleeping pose. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they're like, man, getting up this mountain and everything. I like that the moss has grown over. You can see the north side where the moss has grown. That's really cool. We're going to go back to that shot whenever we do the flashback. But she's like, we're almost at the hidden hot spring. And I like that Fern's like, you don't seem very excited. And she's like, oh, trust. It was a trial to get here. I love that her and Ison were not on board. And if you watch this episode, at the beginning, Hader's all excited. He's like leading the way. He's like, a hot spring? Well, yes. And Himmel's like, I know, right? I know, right? And then as the episode goes on and the flashback goes on, Hader gets more and more frustrated. It's really cute. We're going to watch it here. And she's like, I want to go home. And he's like, me too. And she's like, oh, well, you went there with Himmel's party, didn't you? And she's like, oh, yes. She's like, Himmel wasn't satisfied until he searched every nook and cranny of an unusual place. I love it. Basically, if this were a video game, Himmel would not rest until they had accomplished 100%. To me, it depends on the game. I don't know how you all are, but it depends on the game how that works for me. There are some games where I just want to play through and I'm not interested in getting 100%. But I'm more of like a 2D platformer doing that, like Super Mario 3 and all that. I'm not interested in all the crazy cheats and getting all the coins and all that. Like that, the Mario games, I was never interested in getting all the coins. Legend of Zelda, I was never interested in getting every single little thing. But I will say, in like Spyro the Dragon, the original PlayStation Spyro the Dragon, that was like my jam as a kid. That one, I did want to get 100% because it was so easy to keep track of. Every level told you what percentage you had gotten and how much you had left. And if there were certain items, which ones, like if you'd gotten 2 out of 3 eggs, you'd gotten 2 out of 3. So there was one missing. And it made it so easy to organized, like Kid Me, that I love organizing things. So Kid Me was like, oh, I can do this because I know that I need 10% in this level and 10% that one. I can keep track of it. So it made it possible. I was like, yes, that part of me in that specific game, I was like, oh, we're going to get 100%. But other games, if I couldn't keep track of it, I was like, no. My brother's really good at doing that, but I was like, no, I don't want to keep track of it that way. So yeah. So then they go along in this episode. And then I love that it gets to Hader being like, you said it'd be quick. Oh, Hader, how long you been traveling with Himmel to know he's been lying to you? I love that Himmel's like, I'm telling you, there's something here. Himmel's so, like, what a spark. And I love, he's like, I can feel it in my gut. I love that we get the same thing happen, except it's, instead of Frieren, it's Himmel, and instead of Fern, it's Hader. I freaking love that. That's so awesome. She's like, I told you so. There's no turning back now. We've come too far. There's a road to the hidden hot spring the road is especially brutal. Yeah. And you just see Hader getting more and more depressed as it keeps going. He's just getting more exhausted. And Himmel's just like, of course, he's like dragging further and further behind. That's amazing. With the stick. Ah, I love it. And then, yes. So we get this. This was interesting. So yeah, you have the mountain and there's like a little castle and the sun, and you can kind of see three looking like snakes coming out of it, but it looks like an elf head at the top. So I think that's interesting that it looks like an elf head. Very curious indeed. Why do we have that set out for an elf? I don't know. So yeah. So I like that Frieren's like, yep, there's the monster right on cue. Let's go do this. And Stark and Fern are like, what monster? Excuse me? Frieren's like, been here before. Let's go do it. I'm curious. The one thing I wish we had gotten, because I love the fact that I immediately love Stark's expression here, first of all, where he's just like, oh, I'm going to be bait, aren't I? But I am glad that they clarify it's not a dragon. It's literally a three-headed lizard. Also, the fact that they killed the three-headed lizard before means that it probably just spawns. There's probably like little tiny ones around everywhere that just keep growing. I don't know, or it respawns every now and then. I'm curious what the tower was. If it was the tower, because back there where it was the marker, it seemed like a marker for an elf. And then this is the tower the elf lived in. So I wonder what elf lived here. Like, why were they at this hot spring? Like, that's the thing. This world gives you tiny little bits and pieces of world building, but it never, if it doesn't have to explain it, it doesn't. And so you're just left kind of wondering, like, what was that? Like, whose house was that? Like, why was there a tower here by this hot spring? Why was it hidden away? Why did they leave? What happened to them? Did they die? And the show doesn't necessarily have to tell you the answer. You get to speculate about it, which is kind of cool. I like that. I like that not everything has to have a concrete answer in this world, which is great. But she's like, look, it's already agitated. Here's what we're going to have to do. She's like, you have to cut off 3 heads at the same time or they'll regenerate. The one thing I wish we could have seen was, how did Himmel's party kill the lizard? I'm assuming that Ison was used as bait, or Hader was used as bait. I'm assuming Ison because Ison could defend maybe better. But then you had Frieren Mage and Himmel, the hero, with the sword, take them all at the same time. How did that work? Because I could see Fern and Frieren firing the laser beams from their staffs at the same time and working, but how did it work when it was just Frieren and not Frieren and another mage? I wish we could have seen it. I wish we could have seen that. But I also have to say, I really love how chill it is in this series, where Frieren's like, okay, you're gonna go that way, I'm gonna go this way, we're gonna kill him. Are we all good? Okay, great, we're set. Like, just, it's not like any other shonen where it would be like this tense battle music and things are happening at lightning fast speeds. It's like, well, you go over here and you do that. It's like, no, Frieren's like, hey, you go this way, I'm gonna go that way, we're gonna fire at the same time, we got this, right? Cool, great, let's team up, let's split up, gang. It's handled so nonchalantly that it's kind of impressive, but I felt so bad. I like that Fern's like, oh, so you mean that Stark is gonna be bait? You can tell that Fern has been growing a little bit more and more concern and care towards Stark in her own little tsundere way. Mm-hmm. And so her realizing that Stark is the bait she may not necessarily like. Although, Stark did do a good job in the last episode of explaining to her that he's a frontliner, so that's his job. So it's totally okay. My only hesitation, I love that shot where he's up against the rock like, you monsters. My only hesitation with Stark and Fern growing closer and dating and all this is the concern I think every shonen mangaka have as well, which is why they usually save the romance for the end of the story, is that my one fear is that when you fall in love with someone and you start to care about them to that length, then you become worried that they're going to get hurt on your watch or around you. But the one thing I like about this series that I think could counteract that is the fact that throughout, Stark has told Fern specifically, like, no, I got this. We're going to be okay. So we'll see where that goes. But yeah, I like that they just cut to, we don't exactly get to see how the magic worked, but we get to see that it worked. That's the important thing. And then they make it to the top. And I love this little journey. And then they follow, and there's a tiny little hot spring that's in the center of the mountain. It's so beautiful. I love it. And then they get to it, and I honestly, after everything that Stark and them had been through, a hot spring would have been so lovely. Oh, Huckleberry, I don't know where you put it, bud. But he's holding onto this toy in his mouth, and he wants me to throw it. But anyway, I feel like that would be such a well-deserved reward for after everything you've gone through to get there. And of course, the theme of the entire episode, or at least of this half of the episode, is it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's not where we end up. It's, it's the friends we make along the way. It's the memories that we made to get to those points. And that's where it really got me, honestly, because he's like, it's so shallow. And honestly, and at first Frieren's like, I told you it wasn't worth the effort. And he's like, oh, it's fine. Also, you better get that OnlyFans ready, Stark, for them feet pics. He's like, this way we can all enjoy it together. Like, this man is so smooth and he doesn't even realize it. Stark, my dude. Stark may be my favorite. I'm a little partial to our boy Stark. I love Frieren to death. I love Frieren, our little grandma mage. She's amazing. But Stark may be my favorite. I just freaking love him. He can do no wrong in my eyes. So yeah. And then they just hang out together and they're like, what a view. Like, I love it. And at first I thought the episode title's name came from this moment where Fern was like, so why did you want to come here? And at first I thought he was going to be like, well, it's somewhere that you would like. But no, we get that later. And then we cut to him and Ison. And Ison's like, it was just a foot bath. I love it because to him, it wasn't worth the effort at all. Also, dim guns. Ison and them biceps, like, hello, sir. You let haters see them biceps? Like, oh my gosh. And then little baby Stark is like, okay, it wasn't worth the effort, so why tell me the story? He's like, it was, but it's strange though. I wouldn't trade my memories. Also, all that meat, my friends, that meat and bread of those ridiculous adventures, I wouldn't trade them for anything. I love little Catboy Stark, like watching him. And them all together, I'll never forget that view. That got me so hard because, I don't know, I'm about to be in my late 30s, and you think back of your adventures with your friends in college and like when you were younger and you did stupid stuff. Like, I felt it was a very good analogy for when you're younger and you do really stupid things, but you look back on it and you're like, that was a fun memory. Like, my friends and I, when we were in college, we didn't have any money, so we'd stay at like really cheap hotels. Like, we'd go down to Memphis or something and stay in a cheap hotel and like then go on Beale Street or something and have like zero money, but we'd buy like one drink and just walk around all day laughing and just goofing off. And at the time, like, when I look back, I'm like, oh, that hotel is disgusting, and I would never in a million years want to stay at it again. But when you're a kid and you don't have any money, you don't think about that sort of thing. And even though, like, I remember, like, cars breaking down and, like, getting stuck somewhere in traffic, or then, like, things selling out and having to walk around in the heat and sweating your butt off. And in hindsight, it's like, those things were all worth the memories because they were so much fun. And then just, the nostalgia got my heart. It got me crying. I was like, oh my gosh, show, how dare you? And then we cut to Frieren giving Fern and Stark that same view from the same distance. I bet that was gorgeous if you had saw that in reality. I want to see the same view that my master saw. Oh, I love it. It's so freaking good. It really is a nice view. Of course, then as they come down, the mountain, they're like, well, it was a nice journey, but we're going to make memories coming down the mountain just as much. So yeah, maybe it wasn't worth the effort after all. So then we get to Habe. Habe is located in northern lands into the fortress city. I want to talk about one thing I really love about this series, that it has kept up to the same quality as season 1, is the architecture and the beauty of the scenery. The architecture is amazing. Everything looks gorgeous. I love it. All of it. My one roommate in college did architectural history as a major. And so when we go on like trips, like roommate trips and stuff, they'd point out all the architecture around cities. And it was just fascinating. I kind of got a bug for it. I really like it. Also, Frieren, this second half of the episode, I freaking love the animation they do on Frieren. Her facial expressions, everything about her. Like, Grandma was having a time. Grandma took her dating grandson and granddaughter, her great dating granddaughter and future son-in-law to this hot spring city and just made a weekend vacation out of it. Also, we're seeing the statue of Himmel again. The inspiration and the influence of Himmel cannot be understated. I feel like what's interesting is that in the last episode, whenever the town or city didn't have a statue with Himmel in it, she was just like, let's get out, let's go, let's go, let's go. And granted, it was because of the family and the sword involved. But here, once we get to somewhere with Himmel's statue, she's like, well, we can stop here a little bit. We can hang out for a little bit. I don't know if there's anything to that. Probably not, but I like it. I also like this random goat or haired sheep. It's probably a haired sheep. It's just a haired sheep next to this kid. I just like it. That's just funny to me for some reason. So yeah. So Frieren's been in this bathhouse for like days on end. 3 days so far. They've been there for 3 days. They're basically going to stay there for like a week to rest up and get the hot spring in the system. Hey, look, Frieren is how many hundreds of years old? She's got to soak in that hot spring now so it'll settle with her and stay for a while. But yeah, so she's been visiting magic shops. She's been Frieren's had a great old time. But we're here for 2 more days. And then we get this scene. So Stark's like, well, what do we do for 2 more days? He's like, I guess that's a short stay for Frieren. Yeah, in her mind, this is nothing. And I like Fern's like, I was going to give her an earful about it. We have nothing to do all day tomorrow, though. Okay, Fern is a tsundere. We all know this. Fern is dropping hints of what to do. She's like, we have all day tomorrow. Like, they are talking like an old stereotypical married couple already. She's like, we have all day tomorrow. And he's like, yeah, you're right. He's like, maybe I'll visit a weapon shop or get my axe sharpened. And she's like, okay, but I'll have nothing to do all day tomorrow. And you may be thinking to yourself, well, Fern, if you really want to hang out with him, why don't you say anything to him? Why are you going in this roundabout passive aggressive way? And the answer is because she's a freaking tsundere. That's what she is. And that's what she's doing. And Stark doesn't get the hint. He's like, oh, he just blinks. He does like the blink meme. She's like, and then she just says, pay attention to me. Girl, she's so cold, but she doesn't know how else to do it. And he's like, okay, well, she's like, you're so inconsiderate, Mr. Stark. And he's like, I don't know what you want. And he's like, you don't have to put it like that. I feel bad for Stark sometimes because he's so sweethearted and innocent. And he doesn't quite know how to interpret her tsundere-ness until it gets to the point where she kind of pokes at him. And then he's like, she's always so hard on me. He like needs a translator. And he's like, fine, it's time for some payback. And then he's like, okay, well, if you're that desperate for attention, let's go on a date tomorrow. And I don't think she expected him to say that. I don't think she expected him to offer. I don't think she thought he would be that bold, but then he was. But that's what she's been wanting the whole time. So when it's finally presented to her and he's like, oh my God, what's she going to do? Is she going to beat me up? Then she's like, fine, tomorrow then. And just leaves. You know, she went to like her bed and just like sat on it and just went and did like the SpongeBob inhale. Like, you know, she did. I don't think she's the type of person to do the kicky feet and like the blushy face, but you know, she went and just like sat on the bed and just completely decompressed in that moment. And he's like, what do I do, Frieren? He's like, your book? He just doesn't get it. He's like, why'd she walk away? Why was she freaking out? It's like, because Stark, she's been wanting this for the longest time. This is when we need Cyan. Cyan would be great to come in and explain to him what's going on. Because as Frieren herself says, she's like, you know I'm not great at this. She's like, you know who you're talking to, right? Okay. It's wonderful. I freaking love this. But yeah. And then this girl, her, like she did the, do y'all remember that it's in the United States? I don't know about the rest of the world, but in the US in the 90s, there was like the turbo twist or something. It was like a micro fabric turban that you were supposed to wrap around your hair and it was supposed to like dry it instantly. That is exactly what this looks like on her. And I'm like, what? And then the popsicle girl, I love that it makes her ears way down. Frieren was living her best life. And then she just sees Stark failing to function as a human being, where he's like trying to figure out what to do with the book. I like that he just like looks around with the book like, what do I do? And she's like, oh. She's like, I guess I have to help raise these kids, don't I? It's been a solid day. And then Stark's like, what do you think? What do you think? Is she mad? And Frieren's like, no, she's not mad. Do you understand who you're asking for advice? He's like, you have to know something. She's like, it's not impossible. She's like, I'm a grown woman, you know. She's like, I know exactly how a girl thinks. He's like, are you sure? I'm trusting you. He's like, if I said to you, let's go on a date, what would you think? And then she goes, I think you've grown into a fine young man, Stark. Frieren in grandma mode is kind of amazing. I love that she's like, I'm so happy I might treat you to dinner. I'm like, oh my God. He's like, this isn't helping. I'm real glad that for a hot second, I know this show wouldn't do it, but for a hot second, I thought that Fern or Stark were going to ask Frieren like the talk. And I was like, we don't need to be having that right now. I feel like these two would date for like 10 years before they even kissed or something. That feels like something that they would do, right? Because Fern is such a tsundere. This feels like a grandma hanging out with her grandson. Because yeah, how old are these two? Aren't they like 15 or 16? Isn't Fern like 16 or 17 at this point and Stark's the same? So they're babies. They're teenagers. She's like, you called me grandma. First it was hag, now grandma. She's like, the third time, she's like, I will have a tantrum. This is amazing. The fact that she says my tantrums are scary, you know. She was in full-on Yoda mode this whole episode. Also, side note, what caused the tantrum she threw with Himmel and them? They even made Himmel, the hero, tremble with fear. She's so proud of that. She's so proud that they made Himmel tremble. What caused these tantrums? What caused this between them? Did they tell her she couldn't have any more grimoires? Also, her just moving around the room. My favorite was when she's sitting on top of the desk. It's like going to happen here in a second. She like keeps crying. Yeah, that where she's like asleep in the corner of the desk in the fetal position. That's ridiculous. And then she's just everywhere. She's stabbing the pillow. She stabs the pillow with her staff and then she wraps herself up in that. And then she's just everywhere going crazy. Oh my God. And just jumping over. Oh my God. And Himmel's just like, why is she doing this? What did I do? I want to know what caused it. I really do. She's been crying for 3 days and nights. Yikes. Terrifying. And then they all ask, is that how a grown woman behaves? No, she's an elf. It's different. Ah! She's like, well, now I understand that you're entirely lacking in tact and sensitivity. I mean, Stark does miss the mark, right? And he's like, are you going on a date with Fern? And he's like, well, it doesn't feel like I can take it back. He doesn't want to take it back, but he's like, do you know places she'd want to go to? And then Frieren's like, yeah, we can find somewhere based on what Hader has told me. And that's where we get the roll credits, somewhere that she'd like. Mm-hmm. Frieren is not the most apt at reading people, but she has a really good memory that will come to her advantage. So they walk around. I love the idea of taking her to go eat somewhere. I love the idea of getting her the hair, like the trinkets, like the hairpin and everything. I love that. I love the idea of the bread and the desserts, that they go on the date. And then he's like, you could take her up here to the top. It's kind of like when Fern and them did the birthday thing when Frieren did the birthday thing with Fern back in season 1. And then this part here got me. Hater was the impressive one. This scene about had me crying all over again because he's talking about her and she would have been a little kid at that point. Like, what I love about it is Fern is clearly grown, but those things from her being a child, they're like foundational to her character. And Hater is just telling her that and she's latching onto it because she knows deep down Fern is still that kid. And seeing old man Hater like doing all this and showing her all this is, oh, it breaks my heart. The part where he like coughed a little bit here is, oh, stop show. That's not fair at all. I hate it so much. Yeah. Hater wanted me to be a parental figure to Fern. And she's like, I failed to discover anything she liked. That's not true. You got her that pin. And she liked that hairpin. And Stark knows that. He's like, you remembered everything. He's like, so don't give yourself such a hard time. You know? It's super sweet. So then, the day before, they're back in their room. I love this where Frieren's reading and Fern's just like, hey, Grandma. Hey, Grandma. Just so you know, I got asked out on a date. And as if Frieren wouldn't know who from who. As if she wouldn't know. And she's like, have you ever been on dates? And she's like, well, yes, I have. I like that this is the one moment. This is the one time where Fern like has an emotional reaction of, what? You have? But she did not, actually. Now, here's the thing. Frieren says that the date she went on was with Himmel, where they were looking for a lost cat of a magic item shop. And Fern points out that that's not a date. That's just you completing a job. We're not, before we even talk about Flom's definition of a date, which, you know, before we even get to that, could we say that there is a likelihood that Himmel and all of her adventures together were dates? Yeah, sure, they could have been. Now, when she said her and Cyan went on a date, I was like, oh, no. But, and here's the thing. Flom and Frieren are both, like, boomers. They are both boomers. I like that Frieren thinks that she's teaching her something. She's like, when two close friends of the opposing sex go out with each other and nobody else, it's a date. And I'm like, okay, boomer. Now, to be fair, one, this is an anime made in a conservative, not as LGBTQ supporting community, such as, you know, it could be, even though there's yaoi and yuri and other stuff. So the mangaka saying that, you know, a date is just when two close friends of the opposite sex go out. I'm like, well, we all know that that's not entirely true. You could be of the same sex, of the same gender, whatever, and go out on a date. Not to be progressive, show, but we all know that that's true. However, from Flom's point of view, Flom, ancient boomer, who isn't considering such things, I could see them saying that. Mm-hmm. Also, Frieren takes that definition to heart and just interprets. She probably thought if her and Hater went to the grocery store together, it was a date, right? Flom, you old minx. Yeah. And Fern's like, never mind, I'm going to bed. Although, I do think that Fern is nervous. Also, that foot hanging off the bed, it'll get me every time, seeing Frieren like that every time. But yeah, she gets up and she's nervous about this date. It's interesting to see because I'm like, girl, you should not be nervous about this date. It is literally with Stark, who is the nicest person possible. Girl, but I want this date to go well for both of them. I want Stark to at least let Fern be acknowledged that he likes her. I think that that's not asking for much. I don't think that's asking for much. But, oh, this episode was so good. Oh, I love Frieren being like the dating advice guru, being like Yoda giving Luke Skywalker dating advice. That's literally what this felt like. I would say Fern's like Leia, but let's not go there. Stark is like Han Solo. There, we solved the problem. Han Solo and Leia solved the problem. There we go. But yeah, I love that. I love how it's similar. And I just love the nostalgia factor of it. I'm very curious to see how their date goes. I don't know. I don't know. I want it to go well, but I don't know what we're going to get out of it. So we'll see. Hopefully it goes over good. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts down below. Please let me know down below what you thought of the episode. But I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll back check on some comments again real soon, and we'll be here to see episode 4 of season 2 of Frieren Beyond Journey's End. And I'll see you there. Bye.